Why does America need the weapons of the apocalypse? Having to do with seismic and tectonic events. This is written by Vladimir Prokvatilov. The term tectonic weapon, synonymous with seismic weapon, was coined back in 1992 by the corresponding member of the Academy of Sciences of the USSR, A. Nikolaev, who defined it as something capable of not having a destructive earthquake using its accumulating tectonic energy underground. The first experiments of the development of tectonic weapons were carried out during World War II in New Zealand, when the U.S. Navy began the SEAL project. In the Apocalypse of St. John the Theologian, the beloved disciple of Christ, he wrote the Apocalypse on the island of Patmos where he was exiled. So in that Apocalypse, the book of Revelation of St. John, the angels tear the seals from the papyri, causing the apocalypse. The idea of the project was born in 1943 by an American officer, E.A. Gibson. Observing the work of engineering departments that used explosive charges for underwater work, he noticed that strong waves formed. Gibson suggested that by detonating a powerful charge underwater, you can create a gigantic destructive wave comparable in power to a natural tsunami. The U.S. Navy was interested in the idea, seeing it as an alternative to an atomic bomb. The project was supported by the New Zealand government, which provided a test site for underwater work. In 1944, under the leadership of New Zealand professor Thomas Leachy, the so-called tsunami bomb was tested on the islands near New Caledonia. In 7 months, 3,700 low-power test explosions were carried out. Tests have shown that the simultaneous detonation of several explosive charges with the equivalent of 2 kilotons of TNT placed on the ocean floor at a distance of about 8 kilometers from the coast can create a destructive wave. The SEAL project was designed to use the Imperial Army, but the Kid, quote-unquote, and the Fat Man, quote-unquote, atomic bombs were developed faster and, according to preliminary calculations of the American project, proved more effective. According to the Egyptian magazine Al-Osba, the December 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami was caused by a tsunami bomb detonated by U.S. and Israeli military. In 2011, the devastating tsunami in Japan caused a catastrophic accident at Fukushima 1 nuclear power plant. Shortly after this accident, the head of one of the departments of the Russian General Staff, Colonel Sergei Ustyugov, in a conversation with me, the writer says, the Russian writer expressed the opinion that the gigantic tsunami was caused by tectonic points of the American Army. In 2013, a study by independent journalist Jim Stone was distributed on U.S. social networks, in which he claimed that the detonation of a tsunami bomb was organized by nations in order to prevent Japan from supplying enriched uranium to Iran. An indirect confirmation of these versions can be a statement of the owner of the nuclear power plant Tokyo Energy Company, TEPCO, that the possibility of a tsunami of this scale exceeds the scope of reasonable assumptions. There are 2 secret Soviet programs, Vulcan and Mercury 18. They began the first experiments at a landfill 80 kilometers from the city of Batken in the Kyrgyz SSR, Soviet Republic. The last test under the Vulcan program took place in 1992. Roger Clark, professor of geophysics at the University of Leeds in the UK, in a paper in the journal magazine Nature of 1996, evaluating newspaper reports about the Soviet Mercury and Soviet Vulcan programs aimed at developing tectonic weapons capable of triggering long-distance earthquakes using electromagnetic radiation, noted that he did not consider it impossible, but the creation of such devices is extremely unlikely. He says, according to a publication in Nature magazine, these programs were known to Western geophysicists. According to experts of the Russian Analytical Center of Strategic Nuclear Forces, Both Soviet programs for the development of tectonic weapons did not yield any results. After the collapse of the USSR, these programs were also shut down. According to the Stockholm Peace Research Institute, SIPRI, the development of tectonic weapons is underway in the United States, Japan, Israel, and Brazil. So it's not just Russia that's doing this, it's also US, Japan, Israel, and Brazil. In 2005, the Pentagon launched the Robust Nuclear Earth Penetrator, RNEP, program to build seismic nuclear bombs. And according to US intelligence estimates, today there are about 100 potential strategic targets worldwide for nuclear warheads created under the RNEP program. And the vast majority of them are located at depths that do not exceed 250 meters from the surface of the Earth. The nuclear penetrators will be able to penetrate up to 100 meters, that's 300 feet, of clay soil, and up to 12 meters of medium-strength rocky soil, and eliminate underground targets due to their incomparable power with conventional high-yield munitions. Explosive power. The Seismic project was based on the development of the British engineer Bairns Wallace, who found that during an underground explosion, the ground behaves like an incomprehensible fluid, and the shock wave in it spreads over a long distance, causing local seismic vibrations. The results of the development should be ready by 2010, they said, and it's a coincidence that on January 12, 2010, a devastating earthquake occurred in Hawaii, destroying 90% of the country's infrastructure and having victims, and a year later, in March 2011, a tsunami hit the Japanese island of Honshu, and there was a 9-point earthquake that destroyed the Fukushima 1 nuclear power plant. It is the nuclear power plant is a rhetorical question. The head of the Space Object Control Agency, Chinese People's Liberation Army General Zhu Zhenhao, once said that the Sichuan earthquake and abnormal rainfall that caused massive destruction in 2008 were the result of the Pentagon's secret military program of strength. It is possible also to cause an artificial earthquake using magnetohydrodynamic MHD generators. Ikram Karimov's proposals were based on this. The Russian Center for Scientific Information report from 2003 stated MHD generator startups at the Kyrgyzstan test site caused a statistically significant increase in the North Tian Shan local earthquake flux. The observed activation of seismicity is not related to the influence of external factors such as distant earthquakes, underground nuclear explosions, geomagnetic storms, atmospheric storm activity, etc. The influence of electromagnetic pulses causes complex spatio-temporal changes in the seismic regime, accelerating the overall release of energy accumulated in the crust during natural tectonic processes in the form of weak earthquakes. At the same time, the activation of seismicity and its spatial redistribution occurs after the startups of the MHD generator with a delay of several days. Well, it's probably even easier to conduct field tests in Africa than in Haiti, writes Zvezda TV channel portal. It's possible that based on modern technologies, the U.S. military managed to increase the destructive effectiveness of the Karimov seismic weapon by creating significantly more powerful MHD generators. The Pentagon does not hide that the goal of the development of all types of geophysical weapons is the desire of the United States to remain the dominant military power of the world. And this I've translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.